Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
Now entering the game for Philly Pressbox Radio, Bill Furman and Jim Chet Chesko.
It's Wednesday, December 11th, 2024. Welcome to the Philly Pressbox Radio Roundtable, brought to you by the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, PA, Cavs, Philly Tailgates, and the STT Sports Network. I'm Bill Furman. I'll be your host tonight, along with my partner, Jim Chet Chesko. And Chet, the Eagles, in the words of Merrill Reese, didn't win Sunday. They escaped. They're now 11-2 with the Steelers coming to town. Joel Embiid, your boy, was back, and he scored 31 points, and the Sixers have won 4 out of 5. Go figure. The Flyers lost 3 in a row this week before last night's real impressive win in Columbus. Penn State hosts the college football playoff game Saturday at noon against SMU. And Dick Allen, at long last, is a Hall of Famer. And you know it's my time of the year. It's Army-Navy week. Unfortunately, not in Philly. We have plenty to talk about, that's for sure, in Philly sports.
I don't know if we're going to get to all of that, Bill, but we're going to do our best. So much going on that, unfortunately, we're not going to have time for you to sing the Cars for Kids jingle as we had planned tonight, Bill.
Yeah, I think we're safe with that. But, hey, we have a great guest tonight in longtime Philly sports journalist Bob Cooney. Somehow, Chet, making just his very first visit to Philly Pressbox Radio. We're excited about that. Yep. And Arkansas Fred Barnett will be making a return visit tonight as well.
Yeah, Fred is always great, and this is our 11th year of doing this. Fred is making his 10th visit. It's become pretty much a December tradition talking to Arkansas Fred. And yeah, glad we're finally getting Bob Cooney on the show. I've been a fan of his work since the 1990s when he began covering the Philly sports scene for the Daily News, and then he's done some, on-air radio work in recent years. Let's get it going, Bill.
Let's get to it. Let's welcome Bob Cooney to Philly Pressbox Radio. Bob, welcome.
Bill and Chet, how are you guys doing?
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Great to see you, Bob. Deal. Merry Christmas. I love the background. That looks great, man.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's all over the house. Can't escape.
Well, Bob, thanks for joining us. We're going to talk lots of Sixers with you, but we need to get your take first on the Eagles drama before we hear from Fred Barnett later in the show. What do you think of this apparent A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts rift, if you want to call it that, and Brandon Graham airing that dirty laundry on the radio Monday night? How big a concern is all this?
Well, it's funny. You get on the radio and look how things just come out of your mouth, right? Brandon Graham probably, and he did. He kind of wanted to backtrack on some of the things that he said. But I look at it a couple of ways. I was there on Sunday at the game, and you could hear people in the stands saying, "Throw the ball. He's wide open." That's how blatantly obvious it is from the stands of what Jalen Hurts may be missing. In his progressions, whatever it may be, however it's going. So is it a concern? Sure it is. I mean, I know they're 11-2. I know they've won 9 straight. We all do. But when A.J. Brown is asked, what do you need to do better? I loved what he said today. He said, I said passing because we have the MVP running the football. So what's not working right now is the passing game. No problem with that. No problem there at all. Jalen Hurts comes out tonight or this afternoon and says, look, that's the way I play. Look at my numbers. And I'm paraphrasing. He is a winning quarterback. He goes, I win. You might not like the way it looks, but I win. I don't like the way it looks with Jalen Hurts. I really don't. It seems like he's missing an awful lot of things. And it also seems like he's a little hesitant, guys. He's afraid to pull that trigger. And, can that easily be gotten out of? Maybe. We talk about in life, we form bad habits, right? Well, guess what? That happens in sports. I've been around sports a long time. I remember talking to Lou Williams one time and going into a locker room and shaking my head after practice. And he's like, what? I said, dude, you are in the worst habit of pump faking every time you get the basketball. He goes, I know, I can't get rid of it. I'm trying. But there's just bad habits that are had. And right now, I think my opinion is Jalen Hurts is in a bad habit of not being able to pull the trigger on stuff that seems to be open.
And it's funny, Bob, because last year, at the end of last year and everything that was going on, and even early in this year, it was too many turnovers. Hurts isn't protecting the football. Now he's overprotecting the football. At the end of the day, still getting wins.
Yeah, and that's the key thing, right? And it's funny because they go on drives and he'll pull out a run that you say, wow, 3rd and 12, and he escapes and he gets a run for 15 yards, first down. Okay, in the grand scheme of things, isn't that what you want? It is. There's no question about it. But I think it's the eye test with us, right, guys? I mean, Bill and Chet, you guys watch it where he goes back and it's just constant look, scramble, throw out of bounds. And then we see the all-22 a day or two later, and there's guys wide. A second play of the game, A.J. Brown was wide open. Yeah. And for him not to be able either to see it or want to pull the trigger, yeah, that's a concern. But like an argument I had with one of my friends, it's, look, he's like 32-9 over his last 41 games or whatever crazy number it is. That you'll take that pretty much any day of the week, right, guys?
Yep,
absolutely. Well, we love watching Saquon Barkley, of course. He's having a record-setting season. But his success, I'm thinking, is a factor in why the passing game isn't what we expected it to be. You rely maybe a little too much on Saquon to get it done.
Sure. I mean, look at the numbers. I did them the other day. I think out of the 13 games this year, Jalen Hurts has only thrown for over 200 yards 7 times. 6 times he's thrown under 100 yards. And you're looking at his attempts, they're 18, 20. It's that balance that Philadelphia has always wanted. Run the ball more. Well, now they are. Now it's, well, he's got to pass better too. So, but look, I state it this way, guys. I don't argue with people that are upset about this. I don't go on you're crazy. They're 11-2. Why are you complaining? No. What do you do in sports? You always look for perfection. You're not going to attain it, but you always want to look for it. And right now, the passing game, in my opinion, is far from perfect. It can be improved upon. And if you do that, I don't know how much better the running game can get, but it makes the running game probably that much better.
Yeah, it just worries me with all this. We talked about this the other night, Chet and I. The fact that Brandon Graham put this out in public bothers me more than what he said. That's a whole issue in itself, I guess. But I don't want to see the Eagles come out against the tough Steelers defense and start throwing the ball over the place and then throwing interceptions.
Yeah, no, you can't have careless football. And you're absolutely right about that. But here's the one thing that bothered me, Bill. The other day after the game, everybody talked about what A.J. Brown had to say in the passing game and all that. Jordan Mailata said something that really dug deep with me, and it has been all year long. And he said, I think the reason teams are on to us when we come out offensively and they're not scoring in the first quarter and they're slow offensively is because teams are showing the Eagles things that they hadn't shown on film before. My thing is, I don't care. You have Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, a great offensive line, and Jalen Hurts. Why aren't you taking the game to them? Why are you reacting to what they're showing you? I think the Eagles offense should be the one that's the one showing, make the defense react to you. That's the team you should be. And so that's just the little concern that you have there. And look, they're 11-2, 9 in a row. It's a great football team. But there's things that can be better. And the thing that we're talking about now is what mostly can be better.
We'll get back to the Eagles if we have time at the end, but we got to get to the Sixers, Bob. This has certainly not been the season that we expected from them. We're well aware of Joel Embiid's injury history. Daryl Morey and Elton Brand are certainly aware of that also. So why the heck did they feel the need to give him a 3-year extension totaling some $193 million at a time when his knee was nowhere near 100%?
Yeah, I go back and forth with that. My feeling is, and what I said when I was on the air before this happened, I'm not going anywhere with Joel Embiid. Like, I'm not trading him. I'm not looking to get rid of him. I'm riding it out. Like, if Bob Cooney's the GM of the 76ers, president, whatever title you want to give me, that's what I'm going to do. You've come too far with them with this. You're not going to get much. I shouldn't say much. You're probably not going to get what fans think you could get for him anymore because of the injury history. I think you ride it out. You try to build around him. You hope that you can get goodness going into a playoffs. And they have had that. They have taken him to a playoff healthy, and then he breaks his face. And then he, gets Bell's palsy. And then like crazy things happen with Joel Embiid. And it's happened since I was covering the team. The guy is unfortunate. He plays through injuries. God bless him for that. But he just gets so many damn injuries that it's hard. Now, here's the thing, guys, too. Like Bill and Chet, you guys will know, and you'll feel it 10 games from now, because here comes the conversation of, man, they haven't played together yet. You haven't seen the big three play together yet all that much. They don't have the rotation down. You don't know how deep your bench is, and I think they have a deep bench if they're fully healthy. That's going to start to come about, 10, 15 games, and then it's going to be, geez, we don't know who they are because they haven't played together. And it's the shame of it all. But you guys saw Embiid play on Sunday, right? He looked really good. Really good. And today in practice, they were showing some one-on-one stuff that he did against Paul George, against Tyrese Maxey, like unstoppable offensive stuff. So, if you're a Sixers fan, follower, fingers crossed that he can get somewhere to be almost fully healthy.
Well, they're 7-15 at this point. You say call it a quarter away through the season. They're just a smidge over. Can they recover in this and finish above the 6-7 spot? Are they too far down already?
Yeah, it's funny if you break it down. Like, how many games is Embiid going to play? So, say you have 60 games to go. Say something like that. So, if he plays 40, 45. Out of those 20, when he's not playing, what's the team going to go? Are they a 10-10 team? Are they a 500 team? So then you start breaking down the numbers that way, right, guys? And then it becomes, okay, when he does play, you have to be a 600 or a 650 team winning percentage-wise. Then that equates to about 44 win. So the numbers are crazy. And 7-15 does not help you a little bit. So it's going to be a struggle more so in that in past years, it was, okay, we got to see this team get together. But they also had a good record before that. Now they have a really bad record, and they still have to learn how to play together. So it's a big question, Bill.
Well, Daryl Morey changed up at least 2/3 of the roster over the summer. Some of the newcomers, beyond Paul George, do look like they have some promise. I'm talking about Caleb Martin, Ersan Yabusele, of course, the rookie Jared McCain. What is the ideal starting lineup, do you think, for this bunch, Bob?
That's a great question. And Chet, I went through this before the season even started. I wanted to see, before the season started, I would have liked to seen Oubre come off the bench, Kelly Oubre come off the bench, just because, but give him starter minutes, like play him 28, 30 minutes a game, only because I want to see that energy coming off the bench. I don't want to put all the energy out there right away. Now, McCain, he's been a surprise. I mean, quite frankly, he has been a surprise. I did not expect this much out of him. So, ideally, I guess you're starting McCain and Maxey in the backcourt. I would go with Yabusele also in the starting lineup, along with Paul George and Joel Embiid. That way, I'm bringing Caleb Martin off the bench. I'm bringing Kelly Oubre off the bench. And, obviously, you're going to have a Tyrese Maxey playing with those bench guys because he's going to play 40, 42 minutes a night when push comes to shove. So that's how I would go. The problem is, if you do have a Jared McCain, as you guys well know, and you have a Tyrese Maxey in the backcourt, there's that team that's up north that wears that ugly green color. You're going to put those two guys out to try to cover people defensively. Yeah. That's a little bit hard, guys, as you very well know.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Maxey, Bob, he's trying to carry this team while all these injuries are taking place. Averaging 24 points a game, not shooting particularly well, just under 41%. What's the ceiling for this guy? How good can he be? I think he could be pretty darn good.
Oh, yeah, and I think he is, Bill. I really do. I think he's really, really good. Here's the difference. You mentioned the points per game, great. You mentioned the shooting percentage, not great. Why? Because when I was covering team and you would walk in the visitors' locker room, there's a whiteboard, right? And their defensive breakdowns are on that whiteboard. I can guarantee that the next time I go to a Sixers game and I walk into the visitors' locker room, and if Joel Embiid isn't playing and Paul George, even if Paul George's playing, the top of that list is Tyrese Maxey.
Sure.
Make him do this. Don't let him do that. And that's what teams are concentrating on. And that's really hard. For a 6'2" guy in the NBA, I don't care who you are, to carry a team is really, really hard. You have to be a superstar. He is so much better. And it's obvious that when Joel Embiid and a Paul George or whoever it may be are on the court, things come so much easier because defenses aren't paying as much attention to him. It's like I had a conversation last year with Marcus Morris at a Sixers gala, and we sat and talked off the record for a while. And it was funny. He said to me, he goes, I want to tell you something. I'll tell you what the easiest thing I've ever done in the NBA and the toughest thing I've ever done in the NBA. He said the toughest thing is to guard Joel Embiid. He said the easiest thing is to be on his team and be on the floor with Joel Embiid. And he said, look, I've played with all the superstars in the league. He said, I'm being honest with you that is the hardest and the easiest things to do.
All right. Hey, Phillies talk. With the Mets inking Juan Soto to that massive $750 million contract, the Braves losing Max Fried, but probably getting healthier next year. Where does that leave the Phillies? What sort of moves might they make? Apparently, they're not going to trade Alec Bohm now. At least that's what they say. They did get a semi-reliable closer in Jordan Romano if he's healthy. He had an injury-plagued 2024. The outfield probably still needs an upgrade. What do you see them doing over the next couple of months?
This is interesting because if you hadn't run it back last year, then maybe this year you're like, okay, they have a really good team. They had the best record in baseball for many, many, months of the season. Why not run it back? You had the best team. Always adding pitching, whether it's bullpen, whether it's starters, that's great. And with Romano, okay, elbow surgery last year, that kind of obviously concerns you. But maybe it puts bullpen pieces into different places or whatever. I don't see anything huge going on, although I'd like it too. I didn't like going into last year that they had so little pop in 2 out of their 3 outfield positions in Brandon Marsh and in Rojas out in center field. Yeah. That 2 out of 3 outfielders not having any pop at all is concerning. And you weren't sure about Castellanos, coming off of the year that he had. So I would be surprised if they made a huge move, but I do think, guys, that it's kind of warranted. I think they need to bring a bat or a big pitcher in. I do think a big move has to be made with this team. And, there's not holes, but there are adjustments probably that need to be made. And maybe you guys agree or not, but that's kind of where I sit. Yeah.
And I think, Bob, one of the things that gets me is more philosophy. The long ball, everybody hitting long balls doesn't work for them. When it gets down to the tough pitching, it doesn't really seem to work for anybody, although Freddie Freeman might disagree. But for the most part, they hit bombs all season long, and when it gets going against stuff, they can't put a rally together.
Bill, you bring up such a good point, and I brought this up months ago, and this is crazy. But the three of us can remember this, okay? We can remember the late 70s when the Phillies were winning 100 games and Danny Ozark was the manager, and you had Mike Schmidt and Greg Luzinski and Gary Madison, Steve Carlton, and this crazy Larry Boa, but they couldn't get over the hump. So what did they do? They bring in this 36-year-old guy that all he does is get his bat on the ball and get on base and hit 300 and set the tone for the Schmidts, for the Luzinskis, for those guys to be able to be even better than they were, right? Yep. I swear that's exactly what this Phillies team needs now. Go all the way back to 1980, take it forward to 2024. Not that there's a Pete Rose out there, guys, but I think they need a guy that just gets his bat on the ball all the time and gets on base and doesn't have to hit home runs. There's not a lot of them in Major League Baseball now because, Bill, as you said, everybody's looking to hit home runs. But, man, if you can find that guy, I think it makes this team just so much better. And Trey Turner's not that. I was hoping he was, but he's just not that. Somebody that can just get on base an awful lot.
Bob, you're a little younger than us, so you didn't see Dick Allen or Richie Allen, as he was known then, in the mid-'60s like Bill and I did. We're old farts. But we are so glad to see him in the Baseball Hall of Fame. What's your reaction to that?
Phenomenal. And I have friends that have been on a committee to try to get him in, and you guys probably know who he is. But, friends that just wanted to see Richie Allen. And, when they brought him back, guys, you would remember, I want to say it was like 1976-ish. Yeah. Remember when he was older, they brought him back. Yep. And I remember my dad telling me, and I was a kid, but my dad telling me this was the man. Like Richie Allen was a great baseball player. And I obviously that was the end of his career, but yeah, it was long deserved. And if you look at, he kind of resembles Ryan Howard in that he had a 5-6 year span where, my God, did he own Major League Baseball, right? And I'm so glad to see that rewarded. I'm so glad that all the people around here that have put so much time into trying to get him in, that they've been rewarded also with him finally getting elected.
Yeah, Bob, I tell you, as kids, you mentioned Ryan Howard. That's exactly what I was going to say. There was a period of time where Ryan Howard's at bats for can't miss TV, right? You walk through the room, you got to stop because Howard was at the plate. That's how Richie Allen was when we were kids, for sure.
Yeah, and like my dad would tell me that the ball coming off of Richie Allen's bat was like nothing you've ever seen. Yeah. And, he's talking from going to games and on. He was like, even an out was really hard hit. It was like watching when the Phillies, who was that starting pitcher that they threw out there so many times this year, making $18 million? Why can't I remember his name? But anyway, I went to see him. Met. What's that?
The former Met.
Yes, exactly. So I take my family to go see him pitch against the Astros or something. He gives up like 11 runs in 4 innings, and even the outs were as loud as could be. And it reminded me of my dad talking about Richie Allen, that no matter what, when he hit the ball, it was something you heard everywhere.
Bob, we only got a couple of minutes left, believe it or not. So what I'm going to do is going to pretend it's like the first quarter Eagles offense and hit you with 3 and out. So here we go. Number 1, Eagles-Steelers Sunday. It's a huge game all of a sudden, given the off-the-field drama. How's this game going to play out Sunday?
I feel confident. I feel confident for the Eagles. I do. I think they know, all right, we have to do some things a little better. Jalen Hurts, they got to run some slants. They got to get him comfortable early on and go from there. Pittsburgh's a good team, but I see it being like a 30-17 Eagles win.
I would take that. Number 2, you note in your profile on X that you spent 25 years working for the greatest sports section ever at the Philly Daily News. I bought it pretty much every day in the 1990s and 2000s. What was so special about the Daily News?
Let me see. I'm going to forget some names here, but let's go like Ray Didinger, Stan Hochman, Phil Jasner, Rich Hoffman, Sam Donnellan, John Smallwood. Let's just go down the line. Ted Solari. God rest his soul, who just passed away, a little bit ago. And it's just the amazing Pat McClune and Mike Rathod, who oversaw everything while we were there. I still keep in touch every day with a lot of those guys. And, man, it was such a special time.
I agree. Number 3, Bob, a few years ago, let me see if I can find the picture. During your time at 97.5, you hosted the show Beers with Bob, talking sports over a beer or two. So let me ask you, do you have a favorite beer or style of beer?
Cold. It's funny. Like we all went through the phase of drinking, light beer and stuff like that. When you go out and you have the light beers and all that. When I was covering the Sixers, I got a new editor, and she was very much a beer snob. So whatever city I would go to, she would look up the best IPAs in that city and send me a text or whatever. So I am an IPA guy, but I am not a beer snob at all. I will, like I said, if it's cold, it's me.
I'm not an IPA guy. I'm more of a wheat beer kind of guy, but I just cracked open a Sam Adams OVP. This is a oaked vanilla porter, and it's an exclusive. It's only part of their winter variety pack. So you get like 12 beers, 4 different varieties, and that includes this one, which is pretty good. So yeah, I'll try anything as well.
Try anything. Pacifico is my new go-to.
Okay.
Give it a try.
Hey, Bob, before we let you go, I know you're retired most of the time now, but you still do a little freelance work. Where can people follow the things that you're doing? You still on the social media platforms?
Yeah, so I'm still on social media at Bob Cooney 76 is my Twitter account. Working some things out. I had a non-compete from when I got done with radio, or they got done with me, however you want to put it. But so yeah, I got some things in the work. Probably after the new year is when I'll be able to say something of where I'll be and be able to elaborate on that. But until then, I'd love to be with you guys as much as possible.
You are welcome to come back anytime, Bob. We'll definitely be in touch.
Absolutely, guys. You know where to find me. I'm always here.
Yes, sir.
All right, Bob. Appreciate you. Go Birds.
Bill and Chet, thanks so much. Really had fun. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Take care.
You got it. Hey, Chet, as we've been saying over the last actually couple months now, Philly Pressbox is now part of a new podcast network, the STT Sports Network, as in Set the Trends. It's a network set up by our pal, Phil Stiefel, host of the terrific Trending in the AM show that you can find every weekday morning on the STT Sports Network YouTube channel. Check out Phil. Be sure to subscribe to that channel. Phil's show is on there, and now so is ours. Yeah, you can find Philly Pressbox Radio there in addition to our own YouTube channel and on our Facebook page. That hasn't changed any. Again, it's STT Sports Network, setting the trend for what sports talk is all about and should be all about. Hey, Chet, tell us what's going on over at the Irish Rover Station House as we hit the holiday season.
Well, you know, Bill, the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, PA has happy hour specials, always 24 beers on tap, some fun seasonal cocktails too, by the way. And Thursday through Sunday, they have dinner specials. Music this Saturday at 8, courtesy DJ Cisco. And don't forget, it is happening next week. You know what I'm talking about. The annual Ugly Sweater Party will happen Thursday the 19th, starting at 7 p.m. Get your sweater ready, folks. I've got a selection of ugly sweaters. The Irish Rover Station House is on Bellevue Avenue in Langhorne. Yeah, and I've got one picked out already. Check the website, irishroverstationhouse.com. And, hey, one of the guys that Mr. Cooney mentioned was this fella, Mr. Ray Didinger.
Hi, this is Ray Didinger, and it is always fun to talk sports with these two guys, Bill and Chet, on Philly Pressbox Radio.
Yeah, you like to do a lot of visiting and all that over the holiday season. Do you just wear an ugly sweater every day?
Oh, I do not every day. No, but probably a few times a week when I go out somewhere. In fact, I filled in my old job today, Compass Media Networks, for the guy who replaced me. He's out sick. I'll be back again tomorrow. And just to give the gang a treat there, I'm going to wear an ugly sweater.
I bet they'll be thrilled with that.
Oh, they will.
Oh, my goodness. Let's get back to sports. Chet, fans have wanted college football playoffs for years and years. Here we are. Penn State loses the Big Ten championship game, but hosts SMU Saturday at noon. Happy Valley, another whiteout. It's going to be cold. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, both teams are 11-2. The Lions will have the Beaver Stadium crowd, of course, behind them. PSU an 8.5-point favorite as we speak. And, Bill, I'm going to put up this graphic right here and ask you a question, if I can find it. And, of course, I can't find it. Probably didn't load it. It was the college football playoff bracket.
Yep.
Penn State is what? The 6th seed, if I'm not mistaken. And they will play SMU, the 11th seed. The winner plays 3rd seed Boise State in the second round. What are your thoughts?
Well, you know, on paper, they don't play the games on paper. Everybody's saying Penn State got the easy bracket.
Yeah.
But you know what? These teams made the playoffs. Like you said, they're 11-2. Boise won their conference. They're good. They have a guy that if he doesn't win the Heisman Trophy, he's going to finish second. He's a fantastic running back. I like the draw on paper, but you know, it sounds a lot harder if you're playing Tennessee or Georgia or, you know, somebody like Ohio State or somebody like that. But hey, got to win your games.
All right, I think I found the bracket. There it is. What games are you most looking forward to this weekend, Bill?
All 4 of them.
Of course you are.
All the spreads, you know, are a little high. They're all a touchdown or higher. I think the Notre Dame-Indiana game is kind of interesting there. Again, on paper, Notre Dame should wallop them. But because Indiana's strength of schedule wasn't good, they also only lost 1 game. Ohio State, I think, is really going to be interesting because if they're still on that hangover from losing to Michigan, Tennessee will beat them. So they're going to have to come out and play, and then they got to run into number 1 Oregon, who, as we saw last Saturday night, is pretty darn good.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. Speaking of Penn State, Oregon, quite a wild game. Not what we expected in terms of how many points. What happened to Penn State's defense?
Yeah, well, they still haven't figured it out. And I read, or actually it was an interview with one of the players. I think it was on Goon's show. He said that what Oregon came out and did on offense was something they have not done. It was a look that Penn State had never seen. and it looked it because they couldn't cover them. That Oregon threw some different stuff at them, and Penn State obviously took a while to react, and it looked like, they finally got their feet underneath them. But then when it got down to crunch time, Oregon was kind of scoring up and down the field, and so was Penn State. There were probably three plays in that game. If Penn State could get them back, they'd certainly want back and could have won that ball game.
How weird is it not to have Alabama in this playoff?
Yeah, well, and there's a lot of people not happy about that. But Chet, I look at it this way: if you have 3 losses, you do not deserve to be winning a national championship. You shouldn't deserve a chance to win a national championship. You lost 3 games and you lost them all in conference. So yeah, they're Alabama and all that, but we're not playing the brand; we're playing the teams.
I'm with you. Going to be a fun weekend. I know you'll be on the couch watching pretty much all day long Saturday.
Well, that's next Saturday. This Saturday we got Army Navy.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Playoff games still
a week off.
away.
Yes.
Yeah, but so there'll be plenty more to come up with. Heck, there could be a blizzard come through Happy Valley before next Saturday. So we'll see how that goes.
Speaking of Army Navy, what's your pick?
Army. Army's good. They've only lost 1 game. They're conference champions. But it's Army Navy, so that's perfect reason for Navy to knock them off, because that's kind of how that series goes. Navy's good too. They've only got 3 losses. I think it's got a chance to be one of the best games quality wise for two good football teams. And the quarterback at Army is really, really good.
Let's go tailgating, Bill.
Let's go tailgating. Tell us what's happening with the best tailgaters in Philadelphia, Bob Cavanaugh and a gang of Cavs Philly tailgates.
Well, they've been cooking up a terrific catering business for nearly 35 years now, known best for their tailgate parties. Cavs is a 3-time winner of Philly Tailgate's Jack Daniels Great American Tailgate Party Contest and a past winner of the Philly Daily News Tailgate Award. Cavs also does corporate events and parties, you name it. Cav will cook for you. Of course, Cav hosts tailgates before all of the Birds games at the Link. Couple of home games still left on the schedule that they'll be taking care of before the Eagles and Steelers this Sunday. There'll be a massive tailgate before that one. You know that. Check the website, phillytailgates.com, for pricing and more info about upcoming events. And if you have questions, you can email them at cavscatering@verizon.net. Cavs Philly Tailgates is the way to go. And you know what, Bill? I'm going to just go right in now to the Fred Barnett interview that you and I have conducted.
Right, Chet, we have a great visitor returning to us again here at Philly Pressbox Radio in Arkansas, Fred Barnett. Always great to have Fred.
Yeah, it sure is. Let's get him on right now and get it going. Hey, Fred, it was just about 1 year ago that we had you on with us, and it was at a time the Eagles, like this year, were having a terrific season, but there were some big concerns nonetheless. There was the whole defensive stuff going on last year, rumors of some locker room issues. And here we are again. The Eagles this year are 11-2. And now we're hearing about, maybe some turmoil again. The quarterback and a star wide receiver not getting along. Brandon Graham, who's out for the year, mentions all this on his WIP show Monday evening. What do you make of all this, Fred?
It hurts to hear this. When you look at a roster at the beginning of the year, and even when you look at the Eagles roster right now, the one thing that you would always hear guys say who are very optimistic and who really knows football, they'll say, barring an injury, this team could, do pretty well. Well, guess what? There are no injuries, and everybody's thinking now, okay, they're getting ready to dump. They're getting ready to dump everything, and I think it's just, it really gives you an idea and understanding the process of success. And in that, you have a team that physically has what it takes to be successful. And now they're in a situation, allegedly, what everybody's saying is that they're in a situation now that could possibly be turmoil. And that is something that, could possibly, take this team the other direction. I'm hoping that it doesn't, of course. After playing for 6 years with the Eagles and just kind of being in and around the area, although I'm not in the country full time, I want them to win. And, I think, I love Brandon Graham. I met him a couple of times. He's a great guy. But you have to be a little more smart. When you have anything established, in my opinion, when there's something established, there's always something out there that's willing or that has a desire to tear it down. Now, no disrespect to the media. The media in Philadelphia has always been, unique in the sense that, they'll shake the tree to see what falls. And I didn't hear the interview, but I did. I figured you guys would ask me this question. So I looked at some of the things, of course, that Brandon Graham said, and I did see where he came back and apologized. I'm wondering, who was he apologizing to? But the media is they're doing their job. I understand, what angle they're trying to take, and I didn't hear the interview as I mentioned, but I can see them saying, hey, you played 15 years, we love you. Oh my goodness, you're one of the greatest guys that ever, come through the organization. I know you're going to be in the Hall of Fame here. Brandon, what happened? What's going on? And he just let it let it all go. Let me give you one little example. My head coach was Buddy Ryan my first year. And Buddy sat us down as rookies and warned us about the media. He said, look, they're not bad guys. They're just doing their job. But the thing is that they're looking for different ways to create these stories. I fell into, and it was legitimate. And he got me. I'm not going to even tell you the reporter's name. But we were having some passing issues. And he sat in front of me after a game, and I think we lost this game, and he had his recorder. And he clicked his recorder, and he said, Fred, what's going on in the passing game? And I'm like, hey, we all need to get better. We're going to go in the film room, we're going to figure it out, and we're going to get better. He said, what about, when Randall did this or when you did this? I'm saying, hey, like I said, we're not perfect. Nobody's going to grade out 100. We're going to go look at the film and get better. And you know what he did? He clicked the tape off and say, well, I'm not taping now. And he was like, so what's going on? And I'm like, oh, man, this and that and this. And guess what he wrote? He wrote what I said with the tape off. And in my head, I'm like, well, he just remember what the hell I said. He went and wrote that. So it's little tactics on how to just kind of woo you in to get you to talk about, really what's going on. And to tell you the truth, I do respect the media. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, too, there's always going to be something. And sometimes those, business meetings need to be kept in the boardroom. And, and I think every media source in every NFL city, would take the chance at something negative with a team. We're talking about this team like they're 2-11 and they're 11-2.
Yeah.
We're not talking about them having, the rest could possibly win the rest. They basically beat everybody after Pittsburgh and they could win out. So we're talking about this team being, 15-2.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about turmoil. It's like, it's I hate to use this analogy, but if my wife and I are going through something, nobody else needs to know, what's going on until we figure it out on the inside. Or if we seek help in trying to figure something out, the last thing we're going to do is she's going to do what I'm going to do is get us in front of people and say, oh, well, it's rough at my house. Whoa, what does that mean? Someone's going to take that and use it. So it's unfortunate.
When that came out, Fred, Chet and I were talking about last night, and I got 2 points to make here. First was I didn't really care what Brandon Graham said. The fact that he said it bothered me more than what he said. Keep that in the house, and I don't care if Hurts and Brown fist fight each other every day. It's nobody's business outside that room. So that bothered me the most. But the second thing, and we've talked about this the last couple weeks, to be a great team, to win a Super Bowl, you got to control egos, right?
Of course.
We all know that the athletes all kind of get egos, and they got to all work together. And this kind of thing is what breaks that. As Nick Saban always says, you got to keep the rat poison out. And the rat poison got into the locker room, it looks like, and we brought it in ourselves.
Yeah. And I think it's sad to for us, for the general public, to know that the rat poison is in. Now, when you hear all the comments, and I haven't listened to WIP, but I can imagine all the comments now that are just kind of, talking about this dead cat on the table. And it helps me to really understand how fortunate we are and how special we are to be at the level that we are, or the level that they are, and to on a week-to-week basis deal with challenges and be positive behind those challenges, because you understand you got the next day. I mean, we got the next game. Regardless of what happened this past game, we got another game. Regardless of what happened this Sunday, we got 3 more games. We got 3 more weeks. So to harp on things that really don't matter, and I think when the more you harp on them, they become smoke becomes real, and smoke becomes a fire. And I'm just hoping that the team is mature enough, and Nick Sirianni is the type of coach to say, hey, look, guys, let's stay positive with this thing. Brandon, come on, let's talk about whatever you want to talk about, but nobody needs to know the relationship that certain players have. If Seth Joyner right now went on the media and said, oh, well, Fred and Randall's relationship is that, Seth, you don't know crap about our relationship. Right. Randall and I talk to each other. Even if we're arguing with each other, we're trying to figure it out. And nobody needs to know that. So why are we hearing about it now? And it just really ticks me off, because I would think that a guy, 15 years in the league would not do that and understand really what it starts, and what there's nothing good that can come about, the general public and fans, especially Philly fans, knowing that there could be a problem.
Right. Well, maybe they will at least, get inspired to talk about this and address it before it gets out of hand. You got to keep in mind the Eagles' passing attack has been near the bottom of the league. I think they're 31st in terms of, passing yards or whatever. Do they need to get more of, Brown and the other guys involved in the passing? You can't maybe live on 120, 108, 135 passing yards a game.
Well, you know what you live on, Jet? You live on wins.
That's right. Oh, yeah, that's the bottom line, sure.
That's right.
So this is not a 7-on-7 league. This is a league where you go in and you win games. He may have 300 yards the next game. You may have 50 yards the next game. If they're 2-0, they're 2-0. You don't really talk about something being a problem until it is a problem. And when it's a problem, it's affecting something. Now, when it becomes a problem is when you're deficient in certain areas and you don't win games. This is the NFL. And everybody talked to me about, Carolina, how did Carolina come in here and do what they did? Guess what? I played at Arkansas State University. The years before I went to Arkansas State University, in the years that I was there and the years that I left, Arkansas State has been trying to play the Razorbacks for 30 years. Guess what? They're not going to play them because they know we're going to come in enthusiastic, ready to kick their butts. Just like a 8-2 team coming in here on a big shiny Philadelphia team ready to kick their butts. They're not going to come in, saying, we can't keep up with these guys. No, they probably played their best game.
Right. They're getting paid too.
They're getting paid too. And the momentum or the desire to beat a 10-2 team, it's at its height.
Yeah.
And that's the way it goes when you playing a team that really don't really stand a chance. You're gonna get their best.
Yeah. For years, Philadelphia fans have been screaming, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Now they are the number one rushing team in the league, and now the quarterback stinks because his numbers are down.
Yeah.
But here we are, 11-2, and won a lot of games last year with him, won a lot of games the year before with him, but now the quarterback can't play.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, I know the answer to this, but, if A.J. Brown has a problem, would he sacrifice having 50 yards here on out to win a Super Bowl? If he won't, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
If the fans have a problem with Hurts not throwing for 250, 300 yards, if he throws for 75 yards all the way through and wins the Super Bowl, is that a problem?
Right.
If that's a problem, that's a problem. So I'm confused. I'm confused about it.
All about them W's.
It's the W's.
Well, Fred, here we are in mid-December. The Lions are 12-1. The Eagles and surprising Vikings are 11-2. The Birds have the Steelers coming into Philly this weekend, as we noted. The Lions have games ahead against the Bills and Vikings, and the Vikings have also a road game out in Seattle, and they host the Packers. So, things could break down where the Eagles get that number one seed. How important would it be for the Eagles to get the number one seed on that first round bye?
Well, I think it'd be very important. I think, although I think we've had some hiccups here at home, the playoffs is a different atmosphere. And it's I mean, of course, where I played in a couple of playoff games, and it's literally you're rejuvenated. And when I think Green Bay played Detroit I think it was last week. Yeah. I was rooting for Green Bay because from that point, the Eagles would have been in position like, hey, we're going to win out, and if somebody slips up, you're talking about every game at home. So I think every team, of course, that are up there at the top would rather be at home, and it's very important. It's very important that they win out because I really thought, of course, Detroit has a great team, but I do see some hiccups there, and there are a couple of games that they played where they played against how you say a good team always find a way to win. They played against some bad teams that found a way to lose, like Chicago, a couple of weeks ago, and they kind of slid through a couple of games, although they really put some big numbers up on some teams as well. So I think it's important, of course, to stay focused and for the Eagles, and they could possibly win out. I think it's going to be an interesting game this weekend with Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh, surprisingly to me, but somewhat not surprising, that Tomlin's got these guys right back in the thick of it. And with the final three out, it hopefully they're not in a position where they have to win out. But always that last game when you're in the playoffs and you're setting good, you probably take your starters out of what have you. You don't want to cause any injuries. But I think it's important that they stay focused on game to game, play to play, and week to week. And I think everybody that's in front of them right now, they have the ability to go out and beat.
Hey, Fred, I have to ask you, what do you think about these two rookie corners, Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean? What impact they're making just as rookies? You schooled many rookies along the way. What do you think of these two kids?
You know what? There's somebody posted, I think, both of those guys up on Instagram or some social media, and I combed through it one day, and the comment that I made was that these are two guys who could have played on our team. And over the years, I've seen guys that were pretty good, but they were just kind of missing something. And I don't want to say something that wasn't good for the team that of today, but I always look at guys and kind of measure them to see if they had what it would have took to play on, one of those teams from the 90s. Because we were like, nose to nose in each other's face all the time, holding each other accountable. Which is what it's all about, and whenever there was an issue, I could talk about fights, throwing helmets in the locker room that never hit the media.
Yeah.
The media walks in and they like, what's going on? And we like, nothing.
Right. Yep. And
if they had got some of the stories that were going on between coaches and players or players and coaches, it would have been a bit of free fall.
Yeah, I'm sure you got some great stories. Maybe we'll get them out of you one of these years. Who knows? Hey, we're out of time already, but Fred, I want to mention that you and a couple of other former wide receivers do this weekly podcast. You did it last year, you're doing it again this year. I've sampled it a few times. Good stuff. Tell our viewers and listeners what they can expect if they check out Whiteout's World.
Well, Whiteout's World is an emphasis on the wideouts. We feel that, of course, the wideouts are a very intricate part in offenses today. We feel that the offenses have changed over the years, and you got these wideouts who are being paid a whole lot of money, and it seems that Saquon Barkley is bringing the running backs right back to the running back era. But we typically talk about some of the best wideouts of the week. We talk about a game of the week, and we start to delve into other parts of or other stories that are going on throughout the NFL. And we talk a little bit about the Eagles, but mostly around, who are the top wideouts right now. We talk about, who was the best wideout for this week and guys who are, up and coming. So we have a lot of fun with it. As you mentioned, we the three of us played wideout, myself, Irvin Fryer, Michael Timpson. Mike and Irv played with each other. And of course, interestingly, we all three played for the Eagles at one point.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of fun, and we just, talk a lot of football and wideouts.
Fred, what else do you have going on social media wise? Do you have all the Twitters and all them other things?
I do. I tell a lot of guys, I say, the best thing to do when you retire from football is transition from being the talent to the management. And my wife and I bought an architectural firm in Delaware, Newcastle, Delaware, actually a year ago. And trust me, I'm just an owner. I don't know how to draw a circle. But my wife, she's a great interior designer. She's actually Bacardi's corporate interior designer. Bacardi has his headquarters there in Bermuda, and she used the firm that we bought for some of Bacardi's designs. And the firm came up for sale, and we've had it for a year now, and we're doing great with it. And I'm on the management side of things now, and that's great. I have a small whiskey distribution also in Bermuda. I distribute Michter's, out of Louisville, Kentucky. And other than that, I'm a father. I got twin daughters that are professionals, and two young boys, Brooklyn and Lexington, 13 and 8 in Bermuda. So I'm full-time living.
Hey, Fred, thanks for doing this again this year. Your 10th
No
visit
problem.
to our show, by the way. And
Wow.
Merry Christmas to you and your family. Go Birds.
Go Birds. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to you guys.
Jed, always good stuff from Fred.
Yeah, and we got some good reaction to it. People really enjoyed that. They enjoyed Bob Cooney as well. It's a good show, Bill.
Absolutely.
We should have more people watching us.
We're running out of time. We might run over a couple minutes, but we got to get to our picks.
And I just realized I have not made my margin of victory pick for the week. So I just realized it now.
And you just had an interview that you could have been sitting there doing it.
I know, and that's when I realized, oh crap.
Well, let's get to our games, and you can figure it out on the fly. So we have Boop, Bob Vitrone Jr.'s picks. Boop not with us tonight. We have all 4 NFC East games teams playing this week, so we've got that. But we couldn't ignore the Bills at the Lions game, so we added that one. So we got 5 to pick, Chet. Let's do it. Bills at Detroit, Lions -2.5. A lot of people think this could be the Super Bowl preview.
Yeah. Boop's picks. I got those printed out. At least I did that. I had a crazy day, Bill.
Well, you went back to work for a day, and you're
back
off
into the work thing,
Yeah.
All right, Boop's picks. There they are. I got it. All right, Boop says Bills at Lions. Josh Allen has scored or thrown for 9 touchdowns in the Bills' last 90 minutes of playing time. That is a touchdown just about every minute. His pick is the Bills. I'm taking Buffalo. Also on the road, I think Detroit, the injuries are going to catch up to them finally. I'm taking Buffalo.
Yeah, I'm taking Buffalo too, and for that exact reason was the injuries. The Lions been playing through those injuries. That Packers game was a tough game, but I don't know if they can do it again this week. I'm going to go Bills. All right, that gives us Washington at New Orleans. The Commanders are -7.
Boop says Washington has beaten teams like the Saints all season. They're going to do it again. He says the Commanders. I say the Commanders.
I'm going to go with the Commanders too, but I wouldn't be as surprised if New Orleans wins this game. I'm not in love with Washington like a lot of people seem to be. All right, we have the Ravens visiting the Giants. The Ravens are minus 14.5, and the Giants are really a bad football team.
Yeah, do we really even need to go through the picks?
I don't know. Does Boop have a tidbit?
Boop says there are 6 NFL teams with 8-5 records right now. Baltimore is the scariest, and he's probably right. His pick is the Ravens.
Yeah,
mine too.
Mine too. How about this one, Chet? Cowboys visit Carolina. The Panthers are 2.5.
Dallas should be okay here as long as they don't have to field any punts. That's what Boop says. Mm-hmm. Wow, Boop is picking the Cowboys. I am not. Carolina's been so close the last few weeks to not only the Eagles, but Kansas City and Tampa Bay, 3 playoff-bound teams, at least as it looks right now, talking about Tampa Bay. I think Carolina is going to win this one. Dallas is not a great team.
No, they're not a good team. And they find ways to lose. Carolina is trying to find ways to win. I'm going to go Carolina, and no one will smile more than me when Carolina wins that game. Eagles host the Steelers. Eagles minus 5.
I was there the last time the Eagles and Steelers played at the Link a couple of years ago. The Eagles won that one pretty easily. Boop says Pittsburgh has scored 1 touchdown in 3 games at Lincoln Financial Field. Wow, the least of any NFL team. That did not know that. Boop's pick is the Eagles. I'm thinking that what happened this week is perhaps going to bring the Eagles closer together. They're going to realize what's truly important, and that's, winning and getting into the Super Bowl. Look for A.J. Brown to have maybe 7 or 8 catches. Eagles.
Yeah, no doubt. I don't know about the minus 5.
I don't care about the minus 5. The Eagles will win. By the way, here are the Pick'em standings. We all went 3-2 last weekend, so there are no changes. You're still in the top spot, Bill. Boop is 2 games back. I remain 7 back. Oh, speaking of Boop, a reminder to check out his website where you can get the daily listings of TV, sports of interest, and all sorts of other fun stuff. That website, sponsored by Chick's Deli in Cherry Hill, is boopstats.com. Now, regarding the margin of victory pool, Bill, you know the deal. It's kind of like a survivor pool, but nobody gets eliminated. You do get points if your one surefire pick wins. The standings, you made some inroads last week, Bill. Look at this. You have pulled within 31 points of me thanks to the Vikings winning big last weekend. I only got 6 points. Boop got picked. Boop got 13. He took Pittsburgh. And I got to look right now. Bill, you talk for 20 seconds because I got to figure out who I'm picking right here. So go ahead.
I'll go ahead and make my pick. How's that while you're doing that? And because I didn't even realize I still had this team available. And actually sat down for a minute, and because usually I do these on the fly as well, but I sat down about an hour before the show and looked at it. And I have never used the Kansas City Chiefs. So I am taking the Chiefs against the Cleveland Brownies to overpass or take the lead over you when we're done.
All right. So you are taking Kansas City, you say, huh?
Kansas City over Cleveland. Yeah.
Let's see what Boop says. Boop says he is taking the Ravens. He is taking the Baltimore Ravens. And I decided, Bill, since I have never used Arizona, who really needs this game, they are home against the Patriots. They're favored by 6. I'm taking the Arizona Cardinals to get back on the winning track.
Good. That's an up and down team. All right. Good stuff. Well, hey, we had a couple great guests tonight at Bob Cooney and Fred Barnett. Who's coming to Philly Pressbox Radio next week?
I'm glad you asked, Bill. We have 2 more super guests once again making a return visit to the show. First visit from him in nearly 2 years is going to be Eagles insider Dave Spadaro. Boy, he's having a lot to talk about these days. And, folks, our second guest is coming back by overwhelming demand, Bill. I'm talking about this guy, Boop. Bob Vitrone Jr., a.k.a. Boop, comes back to prove to all of his Facebook fans that he really is alive and well.
Is he still in prison?
He's still in Facebook jail, yes.
Man, we'll have to get the scoop and find out what the real crime was there.
Bill, we covered everything somehow. We got it all in. Army, Navy, Dick Allen, all the Flyers playing up and down.
Hey,
really.
Speaking of that, Michkov, 27 games, 27 points so far, running away with the rookie scoring.
That's a point a game, Bill.
Yes, it is. Hey, another just throw out. Well, I guess it's confirmed. I saw one thing where somebody said that it wasn't Randy Moss. Word out on the street is he's got liver cancer that he's dealing with. Hope that's not the case, but that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, not doing well. I saw a lot of people asking for prayers for him. So sorry to hear that, Randy. Hang in there. Bill Belichick going to UNC? Really?
Yeah. Well, you know the deal there. He wants his son. He's going to bring his son, and his son becomes the coach in waiting. I ain't doing that, but what are you going to do?
Ed Kayat died the other day, former Eagles coach. And the founder of the Seattle Kraken died this morning. I forget his name, but he passed away this morning at age 82.
Oh, and one other note final note from me, Chet. 11 o'clock tonight, I guess it is, right? The special on Jeff Stoutland. Jeff Stoutland, NFL Films.
FS1, you said. Fox
Sports
on
FS1
right?
channel, 11 o'clock tonight. I don't know how long it's going to be, but it's a special being done on Jeff Stoutland. How many times has the O-line coach got a special done on him? I think it's going to be fantastic. I hope I can make it to 11, but I'm gonna check that out.
Last thing, Bill. Brenda Lee turned 80 years old today, and she's still rocking around the Christmas tree.
Well, good for her. Good for her.
Wrap it up, Bill.
With that, let's wrap it up. Thank tonight's special guests, Bob Cooney and Fred Barnett. Our sponsors, the Irish Rover Station House, Cavs Philly Tailgates, PPCC 118 Raz Room. For Jim Chet Chesko, this is Bill Furman. We hope you enjoyed the show. We'll join Philly Pressbox Radio next Wednesday, December the 18th at 7 p.m. You can see us live on Facebook, on our Philly Pressbox Radio YouTube channel, and on the STT Sports Network YouTube channel as well. You can listen on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and all the others. High hopes, Philadelphia sports fans. Go Birds. Go Penn State.
Happy trails to you till we meet again.